Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
So let us actually get started with some announcements tonight before we really get rolling in the service. If I can call up Amy Wolfson to read the announcements, that would be amazing. Let me get the microphone for you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Uh, Thank you, Rabbi. My name is Amy Wolfson, and on behalf of Bethel Board of Trustees, I'd like to welcome you to our Shabbat worship service. If you are new to the congregation or attending as a visitor, please introduce yourself to Rabbi Dime, Lori Simmons, our cantorial soloist, or myself after our service, so we may give you a more personal welcome. And it is a delight to spend this Shabbat together. Let's all silence our cell phones. And we do have some special events coming up in addition to our weekly programs. This is a very busy time of year. So Tuesday, September 5th at 3 p.m. is the first of our Musar classes here at Bethel. On Friday, September 8th, we'll have our first student-led Shabbat. It's going to be the 6th and 7th graders. So you can join us at 5:30 for bingo and dinner, and then services will start at 7 p.m. at our normal time. On Saturday, September 9th, after Kiddush Luncheon, we're going to have, instead of Torah study, the third and final of our Mishkan sessions, where we're talking about the new prayer books, and this one is titled Forgiveness. And then that evening at 8:15 is the Slichot service. Then Sunday, September 10th, from 4 to 6 p.m., please join us at Mickler's Beach for the reverse Tashlich. And this is a Jewish community-wide event. Very well attended. It's very exciting. We do a big community cleanup, too, so it's really nice. And then on Thursday, September 14th at 10:30, Sisterhood will celebrate Rosh Chodesh. And some important business. High holiday tickets are coming in the mail, and they are being mailed out by the end of next week. And then some housekeeping. When we're done, if we could all please put our programs back in the basket and our books back in the rack, that would be wonderful. Try to keep the sanctuary nice and neat. We appreciate that. And then if we are looking for people to sign up to do the live stream, it's so easy, I promise. I can teach you their directions, but if anybody can volunteer for that, there's a sign-up link in the Shabbat Shalom email that we send out. And we really need help with facilitators. I know for a fact tonight we have at least 6 people streaming the service, and it is a mitzvah, a good one. So more detailed events, information about all these events and others can be found in our bulletin, in the email blast, in the Shabbat Shalom that comes out on Thursdays, and we're just delighted that you're here. So thank you and good Shabbos.
So we are in the month of Elul, which is the month leading up to the high holidays, the month leading up to Rosh Hashanah. And it's a very intense time. We're looking at all of the high holiday liturgy and that feeling of going up before God for judgment, and individually and as a community. And so there's some songs that we sing to sort of bring us into that mode, bring us into that zone as we approach the high holidays. And one of them is on page 662, at the top of the page. It's called Achat Sha'alti. And it means, in the English, actually, let's read the English together. One thing, it's at the top of the page. One thing I ask of Adonai, only that do I seek, to live in the house of Adonai all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of Adonai, and to frequent God's temple. So let's join together in song of Achat Sha'alti.
Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai, אותה אבקש. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אותה אבקש. שבתי בבית Lachazot benoam, benoam Adonai, ulevaker bechalo. Lachazot benoam, benoam Adonai, ulevaker bechalo. Achad sha'alti me'et Adonai, otavakesh. Achad sha'alti me'et Adonai, otavakesh.
And now we turn to page 128, 128 for Ma Yafeh Hayom. Ma Yafeh Shalom. It is Ma Yafeh.
Ma yefeh hayom, Shabbat shalom. Ma yefeh hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Ma yefeh hayom. Shabbat shalom. Ma yefeh hayom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
And now we turn back to page 120, 120 for the candles, and then we're going to jump right from there to the Kiddush on page 123. And so to help us with the lighting of the candles and the blessing over the Kiddush, I'd like to call up Jackie and Sharon. Please come on up. And again, we start on page 120.
Go ahead. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Now we turn to page 123, 123 for the Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaro lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehillah lemikra'ei kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim kivanu acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodecha v'ahava uvrat v'chaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
And now please join me on page 126, 126 in the English. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. And now let us turn to page 138, 138. For Lecha Dodi, we'll do verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And at the beginning of verse 9, we will rise in body or spirit and turn to the door to welcome the Shabbat bride as she joins us for Shabbat. And then as soon as we finish the verse, we can turn back around because she'll be here. So we can be all together again for the last Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabala. Shemor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmi anu el hamyu echad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shem multiferetfully la 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 Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabala Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabala Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha Ki makor habaracha Merosh mekadem nesucha Sof maseh b'machshavati la 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 Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabala Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabala Hitori Kiva orechumi ori shir da beri Kevod Adonai alai hiknika lai la lai la lai la lai Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabala Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabala Ui v'shalom aterepala, gam b'simcha u'sochala, toch emunei am segula, boi kala, la 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 la, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela.
And now let us remain standing in body or spirit and turn right to page 146, 146 for the Baruch. And we are in the midst of this changing the guard into a responsive Baruch. So I'll do the first call, and then you all with cantorial soloist Lori Simmons will chime in with the response. And yeah, Baruch Hu, page 146.
Yai la lai 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 lai.
Ya
Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Leolam Vaed HaMevorach HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated. Excellent work, everybody. Excellent work. I know change is slow, but we're getting it. We're getting it. Very good stuff. Now please turn to page 148, 148 for the Ma'ariv Aravim.
Yadadai, dai, 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 dai. Yadadai, dai, 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 dai. Yai, dai, 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 dai. Yai, yadadai, dai, yadadai. Dai, 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 dai. Baruch atah Adonai. Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro mariv aravim, mariv aravim.
Please join me in the English. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening.
Baruch atah Adonai mariv aravim.
And now let us turn to page 150, 150. Please join me in the English. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. And now I invite you to turn to page 152, 152, and to rise in body or spirit for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
Be seated.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. And now we turn to page 159, 159. Please join with me. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. And now we flip back to page 158, 158 for our people's song of redemption, Mi Chamocha.
Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot o seifele. Nora tehilot o seifele. Malchutecha ra'u v'anecha bukei lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze'eli anu ve'amru. Ze'eli anu ve'amru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar kifad Adonai et Yaakov uge'alo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
And now let us turn to page 160, 160 for Hashkivenu. Let's read in the English first at the bottom of the page before we sing. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Grant us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem.
Hashkivenu
Adonai,
Eloheinu leShalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim.
And now we turn to page 162, 162 for Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
And now we turn to page 164 for the tefillah portion of our service. I invite you to rise in body or spirit.
Adonai sefetai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Ula Livnei V'Nehem, L'Ma'an Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor L'Olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechokel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Micha mocha ba'agiverot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, B'ne'eman atala hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, ukdoshim b'chol yom yehalalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated. We turn to page 175. Please join with me at the bottom of the page. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odcha levadcha bi'ira na'avod. And now let us turn to page 177, 177. Please join with me at the top of the page. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us, so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ucha na'eh lehodot. And with all the things that we are thankful for, with all the blessings that we have that we speak gratitude about, we still are aware that we do not yet have peace. We still pray for peace. And so on page 178, 178, please join with us in Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lecho hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lecho hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
And now we have prayed prayers of gratitude, we have prayed for peace, and now our thoughts turn to those who are in need of healing. So we think of those, the congregation thinks of those who are in need of healing. Jim DeArmond, Anita Perlman, Rebecca Kaufman, Pearl Levin, Marcia Cohen, Ron Rappaport, Carol Friedman, Carol Wallace, David Cohen, Rivka Bat-Hinda, Carol Solomon, Ben Fishman, June Van, Rabbi Michael Matchison, Dennis Montaigne, Sherry Chait, Jerry Chait, Larry Michaelov, Antoinette Worrell, Dennis Greiner, Robert Dawkins, Mary Louise Boyer, Stuart Rosenthal, David Adler, Cheryl Young, Velma Krasenstein, Melissa, Mackenzie, Maisie, and Zev Gould, Marilyn Goodman, Chaim and Yehoshua V'Sardina, Yehudit Bat Naomi V'Raphael, Shmuel Yirmiyahu Ben Zachariah V'Rivka, Fran Marcus, Vicky Zuckerman, Herb Feldman, Dania Motz, Melvin Cohen, Wolf Ben Sarah, Scott Silvers, and Shlomo Ben Zalman. If there is anyone else here who has a name that they would like to share with the community of someone who's in need of healing, I invite you to do so as my eyes meet yours. we hold all their names together as a community. We turn to page 371 for the Misha Berach, and I invite you to rise in body or spirit.
Visheberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
May those who will not be healed on this earth be blessed with nights free from suffering and days filled with peace. May God grant strength and comfort to those who care for the sick. May God help us to find hope and courage as we face fear and loss. May all who are ill be surrounded by the love of friends, loving companions, family, and community. And let us say,
Amen.
Amen. You may be seated. And now, please take a few moments for the prayers of your own heart for silent meditation.
Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yase shalom, yase shalom. Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Imru, amen.
There is, in this Torah portion, ki tetzeh, many circumstances, like there are other places in the Torah, where parents and kids who aren't getting along can find recourse in Jewish law. This Torah portion has some pretty dire consequences for disobedient children. So, in this Torah portion, there's a section where parents take their disobedient kids to the edge of town, bring them in front of the elders, and if the elders decide that the parents are right and their kids are disobedient and wayward and spiteful and all the rest of the things, then the town elders will lead the community in stoning these kids to death. So, Harsh punishments in the Torah, this is one of the many examples where thankfully we've evolved a little bit in our way of dealing with our next generation. Um, One of the things that's interesting about this is that the Hebrew that's listed in describing kids obeying is Shema, the same as Shema as in Shema Yisrael, the hear, the listen. And for the kids who don't listen, who don't hear, who don't Shema, they don't listen to the voices of their parents. This word, Shema, in the same context, also means to obey, that these kids are not obeying their parents. And so, for these parents in that society, to listen to their voices, to hear them, should immediately result in obedience. I imagine that some of the parents in the room wish that your children obeyed immediately when you told them to do or not to do something over the course of the years. And so, the parents who brought their disobedient kids to the edge of town and said to the town elders, "This is the case," they stoned the kids to death, and then the Torah ends that section with, "Thus will you sweep out evil from your midst. All Israel will hear and be afraid." That's the Shema again. We'll hear from that phrase. The stoning of the kid doesn't just solve the problem of the disobedient child, it also serves as a warning to all disobedient children in the land of Israel. It's kind of like the Hunger Games method of child rearing, but without the fighting chance. So that's some Torah justice for you. It's not just tied to hearing, that's tied to obedience, though. In today's world, we see stop signs, we smell smoke, we taste some food that's gone bad, we touch something that's too hot. All of our five senses help our brains to guide us through the world. And our brains, they have to learn how to interpret these senses. Through learning language that we can it's through learning language that we can come to know that certain sounds, symbols, seen words, read, or felt through Braille, communicate messages to us. And then, having translated those messages, our brains can decide whether to heed or ignore these messages and warnings. It's learning by trial and error of how we react to these stimuli that teach us, and by learning these lessons, how we learn to navigate through society. Some people have a rare condition called CIP, congenital insensitivity to pain. These people rarely live past the age of 25 because it is pain that is a great teacher of these lessons. If something's too hot and we get too close, we are burned and we learn not to get too close to something that's too hot. Pain helps us to learn, and without it, without feeling pain, we lack one of the main tools we need in order to guide us in how to navigate and survive day-to-day life in the world. Back to parents and kids, moms, dads, teachers, guardians, camp counselors, bus drivers, anyone who has contact with kids. All these people looking out for children must find ways of reaching them, to teach them, to help them learn the lessons they need to understand in order to navigate this world healthily and safely. Thankfully, we are by and large not using corporeal punishment anymore to do this. We are no longer stoning kids that don't listen to us. So, without fear of pain and physical punishment from parents and guardians, teachers, and the rest, without fear of being stoned to death, how do we teach our community's kids to learn these lessons? And so, another part about pain, whether we're using it or not, whether they feel it or not, pain also can teach us to empathize when others are going through pain. Pain that we feel, eventually we learn to understand and empathize when other people are feeling pain as well. So, one of the things that we can do is to model good behavior for our students, good behavior for our kids. It's a sure way to teach them moral and ethical lessons. Another lesson from this Torah portion discusses just that. In Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 19 to 22, we're instructed to leave the gleanings of our crops for the poor. In an agrarian society, farmers' children helping in the field would learn by their parents' example not to go around again and pick up all the grain that's left on the ground from the first round. They don't harvest all the way to the corners of the field. Those grapes and sheaves of wheat and olives, those are there for the poor. They are left for the poor as a commandment from this part of the Torah. Those of us that are not farmers, how do we teach our kids morals and ethics? In his book, Words That Hurt, Words That Heal, Joseph Telushkin says that praising kids for moral and ethical behavior is a great way to cement these values within them. He recommends praising kids for the following: speaking out and confronting a bully at school, befriending a new kid at school who isn't popular, finding a wallet or a cell phone and making every effort to locate the owner instead of keeping it, offering their seat on a bus to an older person, treating her siblings decently, and much more. As I mentioned before, also about leading by example, teaching about those who did, teaching about those who led by good example as well. Some of you know that at JFCS, there is an exhibit on now about the 17 rabbis who went down to St. Augustine in 1964 to stand in solidarity, protest in solidarity, and get arrested in solidarity with Martin Luther King and many others who were protesting and trying to get the city to desegregate, trying to get this country to desegregate. And so this exhibit at JFCS is honoring those people, honoring those rabbis especially who went down. And when they were in jail, they wrote a letter. And I'm just going to read you part of what they wrote. They were talking about why they went down. They said, "We came because we realized that injustice in St. Augustine, as anywhere else, diminishes the humanity of each of us. If St. Augustine is to me not only an ancient city, but also a great-hearted city, it will not happen until the raw hate, the ignorant prejudices, the unrecognized fears which now grip many of its citizens are exorcised from its soul. We came then not as tourists, but as ones who, perhaps quixotically, thought that we could add a bit to the healing process of America. We were arrested Thursday night, June 18th, 1964. 15 of us were arrested while praying in an integrated group at the front of Monson's restaurant. 2 of us were arrested for sitting down at a table with 3 Negro youngsters in the Chimes restaurant. We pleaded not guilty to the charges against us. Shortly after our confinement in the St. Johns County Jail, we shared with one another our real inner motives. They are, as might be expected, mixed. We have tried to be honest with one another about the wrong as well as the right motives which have prompted us. These hours have been filled with a sense of surprise and discovery, of fear and affirmation, of self-doubt and belief in God. We came to St. Augustine mainly because we could not stay away. We could not say no to Martin Luther King, Jr., whom we always respected and admired and whose loyal friends we hope we shall be in the days to come. We could not pass by the opportunity to achieve a moral goal by moral means, a rare and modern privilege, which has been the glory of the nonviolent struggle for civil rights. We came because we could not stand quietly by our brother's blood. We had done that too many times before. We had been vocal in our exhortation of others, but the idleness of our hands too often revealed an inner silence. Silence at a time when silence has become the unpardonable sin of our time. We came in the hope that the God of all of us would accept our small involvement as a partial atonement for the many things we wish we had done before and often. We came as Jews who remember the millions of faceless people who stood quietly watching the smoke rise from Hitler's crematoria. We came because we know that second only to silence, the greatest danger to man is loss of faith in man's capacity to act. The letter goes on, and the exhibit, I believe, also contains a copy of the letter that Martin Luther King Jr. wrote to one of the rabbis, encouraging him to bring the other rabbis down with him. I'm looking forward to going back and really getting a chance to dive deep and enjoy all of the things that they have up there. JFCS does a great job with these exhibits, and I encourage everyone to go. So this Shabbat, may we, whether parents or children, older adults, younger adults, middle adults, the people that we talk to after this sermon, may we take time in rearing the next generation of children, take time to encourage them to be moral, ethical people, to encourage these actions, these values, so that not only us in the days ahead, but in future generations, we will commit and recommit to being the moral people pursuing justice that God and the Torah exhort us to do. Shabbat Shalom. We now turn to page 586, 586 in our prayer books, and I encourage you to turn and to rise in body or spirit for the Aleinu. 586.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gedola yotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoyei ha'aratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kecho hamonam, va'anachnu koirim, umishtachavim, umodim, lifnei melech, malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, shehu nodeh shamayim v'yosed haaretz, umoshav yekaro b'shamayim imal, ushkinatu zo, v'kovhei meromim, hu Eloheinu ein od, emet malkeinu efesulato, kakatuv b'torato, v'yatat hayom v'ashevota elevavecha, ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim, b'shamayim imal, v'al ha'aretz, mitachat ein od, v'nemar, v'haya Adonai, l'melech al kol ha'aretz, v'yom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
You may be seated. Our thoughts turn to those whom we have loved and lost. There are stars up above, so far away that we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we have loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways that we remember. The congregation is thinking tonight of those whom we have lost. We're thinking of those whom we have lost within the last year. Jay Aronoff, Marcel Retner-Mendelbaum, Clara Ostfeld, Lionel Gleichenhaus, Lawrence Merrill Saxon, Anna Logsden, Rayla Montagna, Roberto Ruiz, Shelley Fishman, Michael Cherep, Zenobia Zobi Neustadt, and those whom we have lost at this time in years past, Michael Adler, Rachel Alpert, Harry Boyer, Michelle Brenner, Norman Chait, Rita Cauliflower, Rosa Dicker, Max Froelich, Keith Golden, Bernard Grand, Ray Grossman, Arthur Jarrett, Evelyn Katz, Albert Kay, David Koningsberg, Morris Lieber, Betty Lieberman, Marjorie Morris, Alice Sager, Evelyn Schechter, Samuel M. Scheinsight, and Mayor Spiro. If there is anyone here who has a name that they would like to add to those whom I have read, to bring a name to the community, I invite you to do so as my eyes meet yours. We hold all their names together as a community. I invite you to turn to page 598, and to rise in body or spirit for the Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei, B'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala u'bizman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'l'olmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal, Shmei Kudusha Brichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiran be'alma v'yimru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru Amen. Osei Shalom b'mromav, Hu ya'aseh Shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru Amen. May the one who makes peace on high bring comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated. For our closing song, we're going to turn to page 626 for Ein Keloheinu.
Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadoneinu, Ein Kemokeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Micheloheinu, Michadoneinu, Michemokeinu, Mikemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adoneinu, Nodel Mokeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adoneinu, Baruch Mokeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adoneinu, Atahu Mokeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
And now we turn back to page 603 for the priestly blessing. I invite you to rise in body or spirit so that we may bless you.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
Kein yehi ratzon. May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yihuneka.
Kein yehi ratzon. May God's light shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yaseim lecha. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Kein yehi ratzon. May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.